All right, guys, Eric Paul's in here with 9 to 5 Sports. Going to be getting into the Cut Sweat review, and then going to get into the preview for the weekend, showdown picks and whatnot, who's most likely to win. But first, I kind of want to do the recap. So the showdown picks from yesterday's video did pretty darn well. As you guys know, if we're just looking at like a few of the top players that I highlighted, you look at Jon Rahm -6, Daniel Berger -3, JT was another one -3, Charlie Hoffman +1. That was unfortunate, but then you got Harris English -5, and then even Kam Morikawa. He was like the one player that really did well in round one. That was like, hey, you guys can go out of your way to play him. He ranked top 15 showdown pick, and he went out and had a great round as well. So you know, I don't want to say it was kind of easier to cash in the showdown if you're just using that 9 to 5 model there, and that has always kind of been the most successful for the 9 to 5 leaderboard showdown tool. But just kind of getting into the recap here before we dive down into it. So we got the Cut Sweat beta here pulled up, and I'll get into this a little bit more as we're going here. Go to cash for now. But Harris English came through. That was freaking awesome, and he made a lot of my lineups live, if you will. I got a decent amount of 6 for 6 lineups across the cut line because Harris English made the cut. That was huge. I got a top 50 or so lineup in GPPs right now as well. That was pretty awesome. The bad side, the Cut Sweat, for me personally, was Patrick Cantlay. You know, he had that triple bogey on the first round. That was bad. That was bad. And I thought the issue with this week would not be being on the right players. You know, we did that pretty well with the player pool. The issue would be being on players that would blow up and eventually miss the cut. That happened with Patrick Cantlay, who had a triple bogey, and then Charlie Hoffman as well, who had a double bogey on the back 18 to go out and miss the cut. And then Patrick Reed, he just didn't have it going. The thing about Patrick Cantlay is, though, he clearly had it going. He hit like, I think 70 to like 75% of his greens in regulation. He was the only one this week that hit that amount of greens that didn't make the cut. Obviously, that comes down to that triple bogey. So he played well, just one bad hole, probably one bad tee shot cost him. We don't have that strokes shot link data this week at the Open Championship, but I'm guessing that's what it was. So unfortunate there with those three. But other than that, we look at the top 12 of the player pool. Kam Morikawa, he was the 12th rated player. Then some other players. Jon Rahm played well. Usti's obviously playing well. High exposure plays there. Daniel Berger playing well. And then we just look at like the core plays that made the cut. Jordan, Paul Casey, you know, those guys are sim pretty. So definitely a week in which, you know, if you spread out your lineups, you did a bunch of GPP lineups, you probably have some really good lineups, some lineups with 6 for 6 across the cut line. And that brings me into the Cut Sweat tool here, which I think is kind of it's a fun new tool here. So this is going to be looking at the cash Cut Sweat right now. So cash Cut Sweat, it's going to be based on the $5 single entry double up contest. Okay, that's the easiest contest to cash in week in and week out across DraftKings. It's typically the highest single entry contest in terms of cash as well. It's going to be based on players within 25 spots of the cut line, and then we can see what the contest 6 for 6, 5 out of 6, 4 out of 6, 3 out of 6% was. So 6 for 6 was 11%. And then 5 out of 6 was 35%. So typically speaking, you need to finish in the top 45% in cash contests to cash. Now, obviously, it matters on which players are on Jordan Spieth and whatnot. But for the most part, if you have 5 out of 6 or 6 out of 6 across the cut line, you should cash. And then 4 out of 6 probably going to cash as well, especially if you started with Jordan or Usti. You're fine. If you had Kam Morikawa, you should be fine as well. 3 out of 6 probably not going to do it. You probably would have to get first, second, and third. Which, hey, maybe Paul Casey needs to step up. If that's going to happen. I know Paul Casey was kind of a free square, I thought, this week, as well as Jordan. So I'm assuming a lot of people ended up on those two players. But just going over the cash Cut Sweat, a fun part of this tool is that you can actually click on a player and scroll down and see how they would have affected the slate had they missed the cut, or how they affect the slate pretty much in general. This is also, I want to point out, this is updated after the rounds, okay? After the first round, after the second round. So had Xander Schauffele, I think he made the cut, right? Let's pull him up. 53rd. Okay, he made the cut. So had he missed the cut, the number of 6 for 6 lineups would have went from 11.23% to right around, what's the math? 8.7% or so. So 2.5% of lineups would have been affected had he missed the cut in 6 for 6. And then we look at 5 out of 6, 6%, and then 4 out of 6, 9%. It's kind of a fun thing. And that only applies for the players that people started out their builds with. Okay, I want to make that clear. That's part of why it's in a beta, working on small things like that. So you could click on everyone and it'd pull them up. Like Sandburn's not going to pull it, but like JT, it'd pull up. Not as big of a difference for him as it is for Xander. So kind of a fun little tool there. It's kind of exciting there. Let's see Terrell Hatton. How was he owning cash? Not really owning cash. He missed the cut though, so not gonna be pulling up any in there. There's a little bit of standard deviance, about like 1% as an FYI for this as well. But yeah, if you started with Terrell Hatton, one thing this tells us is that, one, you kind of hurt yourself. Your lineup path wasn't good here as a whole. And two, you just didn't have a good week, pretty much. It's kind of what that's telling me. But another fun feature is if we want to look at the GPP, we can sort by username, DK handle, pretty much. So this is going to be the $1 20 entry max contest. That's typically one of the most popular, if not the most popular contest on DraftKings. A lot of people like the quarter arcade as well, but I went with the $1 contest here. Same things apply for the cash cut sweat. You can click on the top players. Let's see, Bryson was a little bit more owned in GPPs. We can see didn't affect 6 for 6 had he missed the cut, but he would have affected 5 out of 6. 4 out of 6 and whatnot. He would have affected that. See, anyone? Terrell Hatton. Let's see. Missed the cut. Let's see here. Yeah, kind of same thing for cash. Wouldn't have changed too much there had he missed the cut. And, there's not really any other big names that were close to the cut line, that were cut sweats that are popping up here. So, the tool I want to show you guys here, though, is that you can select your username and see how you did. So just for example purposes, I'm going to use this Tabasco guy because he has 1 out of 20 lineups. So he has 20 lineups here that we can sort by. So what we have to do, we just have to go through and click them all. That's kind of the unfortunate side. Got to go through and click them all. All right, got a few more clicks here and we should be good. All right, so we can tell how he did for his GPP cut sweat. He had 10% of his lineups finish with 6 for 6 across the cut line, which is about 2 lineups there, or it's 2 lineups. So, he has 2 lineups that I would consider live. So there you go. You're not bad. And then, he could potentially cash in 11 lineups and 55% of his lineups. Not bad there. Not bad there, actually, there from Tabasco. So I don't know who this guy is. DraftKings handle and whatnot. So whatever, pulling for him. I have no idea who he is. Pulling for him since I highlighted him though. Those 2 out of 6. Let's have a good week there, buddy. Just kind of a fun tool. It's in beta once again. Just want to throw it out there one more time. Just a fun tool to look at after round 1 and round 2. But now let's get into the weekend predictions. So real quick, I do want to recap the leaderboard and kind of the model as well. So one thing that I do with 9 to 5 is I'm not going to change the data. The data is what we have. Okay. So like Guido and Jason here popping up as top picks in the model. That's because they had a very limited sample size. And I always go out of my way to kind of let people know that that's why they're popping this, because of the small sample sizes. But I never want to go out of my way to include them. And that's maybe something I could work on the modeling a little bit so that a player like that isn't popping up. But at the end of the day, the data is what the data is. If we don't have course history from them, it is what it is. They're playing an event, they're pretty good anyways. So kind of unfortunate there. But if we take out those 2 and say the top 12 would have been the top 10, and we can even do that here. Select all, and we're going to take out Guido, and then we're going to take out Jason here, just for example purposes. Charlie Hoffman was the only missed cut out of the top 10 in the model then. Kind of crazy there. Xander made cut, Harris English made cut, and then we can see a lot of upside there on the top. And we got Louis in first, we got Morikawa in second, Jordan in third, and Scotty Scheffler in fourth. And then you go a little bit lower, John Rahm and Paul Casey in 12th. So this tells me that we were looking at the right stuff. We know that. It's just the more you go on, the less predictable it goes. We open it up a little bit, going back to why I don't want to change the date at all. Sometimes you get a guy like Daniel Van Tonder popping up. That's probably wrong. That pronunciation is probably wrong. Popping up as well. Top 10 right now. What was he rated in the model? 20th. He was 20th in the model. I don't like to change stuff just for that reason. So just kind of something interesting to look at. 40 guys there. Kind of curious, how did the stat ranks do as well? Let's just top 18 or so. Top 18. The stat ranks still a little bit better as a whole than the model. Just something interesting there. Kind of same players in the player pool, but just a little bit interesting there. There's players like Corey Connors, Webb Simpson popping up, Abraham Ancer. I ended up on him in the player pool, but he's popping up. Russell Henley. Russell Henley missed the cut. Isn't that a fun tool here, guys? Green means made cut. Yellow means, near miss cut. And then red means miss cut. That's fun. All right. Enough blabbering about the tools here. Let's get into the round 3 picks. So one thing I got to do is I got to sort this by top 65 and ties. Let's get that done. So now we can pull up, which players are most likely to go out and make the cut or go out and produce. Okay. So Taylor Gooch, Bryson, Harris, Xander, Ancer, Sam Burns, Kokrak, and Rory are the players that are most likely to have a better round than the previous 2 that they've had thus far. I would agree with that with Bryson. I think he kind of figured something out. I don't know if I want to chase that, but Harris English is a guy I wouldn't mind targeting. Xander, I wouldn't mind targeting. Ancer, I wouldn't mind targeting. And I hope, let's just sort by round 3 rank. I think that's going to be echoed with round 3 rank. Yes. So Harris English really popping up there. And the nice thing about these guys is they're going to have the slightly favorable tee time as well with that AM tee time, with them kind of struggling. So you go Harris English, Xander. If you guys want to go with Rory, we mentioned on last video that he's typically a slow starter. You could roll with him as well. Let's see here. Actually, let's just do this real quick. Let's in a second. I'll do that. So you could still go back to the well with Kam Morikawa. He's still kind of casually popping up there, decently on this list. Paul Casey as well. Brooks, I wouldn't mind. John Rahm, I wouldn't mind. But one thing I want to do here, I just want to sort by players that are doing bad that are going to have that kind of favorable tee time. So let's see here. Yeah, no one really popping up that much, I guess, though. So for me, it's going to be Harris, Xander, and kind of going from there, just kind of filling in where I can. But let's just get into who's most likely to win now. I'm going to keep this filter on. All right. So let's see. Most likely to win. The moment you guys have been waiting for it. And it hasn't really changed all that much from yesterday, which is good. Kam Morikawa is the most likely player to win. Then Louis. Then Jordan. Kind of interesting there for me. I don't know about you guys. Kind of interesting there. And then Sky Scheffler 4th. John Rahm 5th. Paul Casey 7th. Brooks Koepka 6th. DJ made a big splash. He's 8th. Daniel Berger really popping up there 9th. And then Corey Connors casually popping up there 10th. Most likely to win. Webb Simpson dropped down from about, I think he was 4th most likely to win to about 12th. So he's a guy that I do expect to have a better round. So he's a guy that I actually wouldn't mind in round 3 showdown. So I actually might do that. I might do Xander, Webb, English, and Ancer possibly for round 3 showdown. But kind of just something interesting to look at. Obviously, it's been highly predictable in round 2. Typically, some people will regress back a little bit after that second round. Or going into that second round, their score regress back a little bit and then progressively get better in round 3 and round 4. That's why that round 2 showdown has been, as predictable as it has been. Whoops. That was a weird click there. My apologies. Bad click with the clicker there. But I am all finished up for the cut sweat for the Open Championship. Going to be some interesting stuff. Like I said, I have a couple of live GPPs. My main build probably not going to do well. We'll see. Jordan would have to win. Paul Casey would probably have to get second, and Harris English for me would have to just dominate. I'm not going to cash in my main build, which is unfortunate because I kind of made a secondary cash build that had 5 out of 6 across the cut line. Just unfortunate there, but fingers crossed for a GPP. Had a bunch of close ones this year thus far, and it'd be nice to even have a Sunday sweat as well. Top 10 finish would be nice, but I want to take one down. Had a couple of close calls with showdowns, had a couple of close calls with GPPs. let's take one down. That'd be fun. All right, hope you guys do as well. I know some of 9 to 5 Nation have some really solid 6 for 6 lineups as well. Hope you guys best of luck, and I hope you guys that might have 4 out of 6 across the cut line as well in cash. Hope you guys get there. I hope you guys cash as well. All right, thanks for watching, guys, and as always, let's keep cashing.